I still remember the day Eliza disappeared. It was exactly 43 days before our wedding, on a crisp autumn morning. I woke up to an empty bed and a hastily scribbled note on her pillow. I need some time. Please don't look for me. 7 words that would shatter my world and leave me questioning everything I thought I knew about our relationship. The first week was a blur of panic and police reports. Her parents flew in from Seattle, their faces etched with worry. They'd always been skeptical of our whirlwind romance. We'd gotten engaged after only 8 months, but now they looked at me with suspicion clouding their eyes. Did I know something I wasn't saying? Had there been signs I'd missed? She seemed fine at the cake tasting last weekend, I told the detective assigned to her case. Excited about the venue, talking about honeymoon destinations. Everything was normal. But was it? As days stretched into weeks, memories resurfaced with new context. The way she'd grown distant in the month before, staring at her phone with a furrowed brow. How she'd started taking long walks alone, coming back with red-rimmed eyes she blamed on allergies. The night I found her sitting in the dark, looking through old photos from before we met. Our friends rallied around me, bringing casseroles and theories in equal measure. Some thought she'd gotten cold feet. Others suspected something more sinister. My best friend Jake was the only one brave enough to voice what others whispered. What if she just left you? The wedding vendors started calling. What should they do with the deposits? Should they keep the date open? I couldn't bear to cancel anything. It felt like giving up on her. I took a leave of absence from work when I couldn't focus on anything besides checking my phone every 5 minutes. I drove to all our favorite spots. The coffee shop where we'd had our first date, the lookout point where I'd proposed, the botanical garden she loved. No trace of her. Her credit cards hadn't been used. Her passport was still in our safe. Her car sat in our garage, gathering dust. It was as if she'd vanished into thin air, taking with her all certainty about our past and future. On day 23, I found a small velvet pouch tucked inside a book on her nightstand. Inside was her engagement ring. I collapsed onto the floor, clutching it until the diamond cut into my palm, leaving a small crescent mark that would fade long before the pain did. I drank too much, slept too little, started seeing a therapist who gently suggested I prepare myself for the possibility that Eliza might never come back. People have complicated reasons for disappearing, she said. Sometimes it's not about the people they leave behind. I was sitting on my porch on day 38, nursing a cold coffee and staring blankly at the changing leaves, when my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. I'm coming home tomorrow. I can explain everything. The 24 hours after receiving that text were the longest of my life. I cleaned the house frantically, then realized I didn't want it to look like I'd been waiting for her return. I messed things up a bit, then cleaned again. I bought groceries, her favorite wine, fresh flowers, then removed them all, not wanting to seem presumptuous. I rehearsed what I would say, cycling through anger, relief, and a desperate need for answers. When the doorbell finally rang, I wasn't prepared for the woman standing on our porch. Eliza's familiar face was thinner, her usually immaculate hair cut into a short, practical bob. Her eyes held a wariness I'd never seen before, and she carried only a small backpack. "Can I come in?" she asked, as if it wasn't still her home too, as if her keys weren't still hanging on the hook by the door. We sat across from each other at the kitchen table, the silence between us thick with unspoken questions. She wrapped her hands around the mug of tea I'd made her, but didn't drink. "I'm sorry," she said finally. "I know what I did was cruel. Where were you?" My voice sounded strange to my own ears, hoarse from lack of use, or perhaps from holding back all that I wanted to scream. "At a retreat center in New Mexico." She looked down at her hands. "A place for people who need to disconnect completely." "Disconnect?" I repeated incredulously. "You disappeared, Eliza. Your parents thought you were dead." I thought. I couldn't finish the sentence. "I know." She met my eyes then. I couldn't see any other way. I was drowning, Mark. In expectations, in plans, in the person I was becoming. I needed to find myself again. I laughed bitterly. "And you couldn't have mentioned that before vanishing? A simple, 'Hey, honey, I'm having an existential crisis' would have sufficed. Would you have understood? Would you have let me go?" The question hung between us. I wanted to say yes. Of course I would have supported her. But would I have? Or would I have tried to fix everything? To reason her out of her doubts? To keep our wedding plans on track? She told me about the retreat, the daily meditation, the silence, the work in the gardens. How she'd surrendered her phone, cut off all contact with her old life, and spent weeks examining what she truly wanted versus what she'd been conditioned to chase. "I realized I've been living someone else's version of my life," she said. "My parents' ambitions, my friends' timelines, societal expectations. I've never made a decision that was truly, completely mine. And us?" I asked, dreading the answer. Was that someone else's choice too? She reached across the table then, taking my hand. Her touch still sent electricity through me, despite everything. No, loving you was the most authentic thing I've ever done. But I was about to marry you without knowing who I really am. That wouldn't have been fair to either of us. I pulled my hand away. And the ring? Leaving it behind like that. I needed to be completely unbound. To make choices without obligations pulling me back. She hesitated. I didn't know if I would return. That admission hit me like a physical blow. She had contemplated a life without me, had weighed that option seriously enough to leave her ring behind. And now? I asked. What changed? I found clarity. Eliza said, her voice stronger now. I realized that leaving wasn't about escaping you. It was about finding me. And once I did, I knew I wanted to share that person with you. If you'll still have me. I stood up abruptly, pacing the kitchen. Anger and relief battled within me. You can't just disappear for over a month and then walk back and expecting everything to be the same. I don't expect that, she said quietly. Nothing is the same. I'm not the same. She was right. The woman sitting at our kitchen table wasn't the Eliza who'd left, not entirely. There was a groundedness to her now, a certainty in her posture that had been missing before. Our wedding date passed 2 weeks ago, I said, my voice breaking. I sat alone in our apartment while our friends called to check if I was okay. Your mother sends me casseroles every Tuesday because she thinks I can't feed myself without you. Tears filled her eyes. I know there's damage I can't undo. I'm not asking for forgiveness right away. I'm asking for a chance to show you who I am now, and to discover who you've become while I was gone. In the weeks that followed, we entered an awkward dance of reconciliation. Eliza moved into the spare bedroom. We had dinner together most nights, sharing stories, hers of self-discovery, mine of survival. Sometimes we laughed like before. Other times, silence stretched between us like an unbridgeable chasm. She started painting again, something she'd abandoned years ago. Her canvases filled the apartment, vibrant and raw. I found myself drawn to them, seeing pieces of the woman I loved expressed in ways I'd never witnessed before. Our friends reacted with mixtures of joy and judgment when they learned of her return. Some embraced her immediately. Others kept their distance, protective of what I'd endured. Her parents visited cautiously, their relief at her safety tempered by confusion about her transformation. I don't know if I can trust you again, I admitted one night, 6 weeks after her return. We sat on our rooftop, sharing a bottle of wine under the stars. What happens the next time you feel lost? She took my hand, her thumb tracing patterns on my palm. I can't promise I'll never need space again, but I can promise I won't disappear. We can find ways for me to journey inward without leaving you behind. The ring remained in its velvet pouch in my desk drawer. Neither of us mentioned a new wedding date. Instead, we focused on rebuilding. Not what we had before, but something new, something honest. 6 months after her return, I took her to the coast where we'd had our first weekend away. As the sun set over the water, she turned to me with tears in her eyes. Thank you for giving me a second chance, she whispered. I brushed a strand of hair from her face, studying the woman before me. Familiar yet new. The Eliza I'd always loved but fuller, more authentic. We're giving each other a first chance, I corrected gently. To love each other as we truly are. That night, she moved back into our bedroom. We still had work to do, trust to rebuild, plans to reconsider. The future remained uncertain, but for the first time since she disappeared, uncertainty didn't terrify me. We had survived the unimaginable, and in that survival, discovered something profound. Love isn't about possessing another person or fitting into prescribed roles. It's about witnessing each other's evolution and choosing, day after day, to grow together rather than apart. Her disappearance had changed everything. But maybe, just maybe, what we were building now was stronger than what we'd lost.